Hello there, this is Michael E. Stern. I am a professional photographer, published author, educator, and public speaker. Today is the first part of my four-part series on how I work on location, lighting interiors with a speed light, a single speed light, multiple exposures, and Photoshop. I'll take you through the process of the actual shoot, working in Photoshop Camera Raw, working in Photoshop proper, and then preparing the file for print. As I work through this, you'll notice the bottom of the screen will show you the keyboard commands as I hit the keyboard. That will help you follow along later. What makes this technique work? The camera is on a tripod. I have locked the mirror up and I use a electronic cable release to trip the shutter. Everything I'm doing is to try to minimize camera movement and blur and maximize clarity. The technique also works because I know the guide number of my flash unit. It's very important to test the flash unit to get the guide number. I will work with that in a subsequent tutorial. For now, this base exposure is to make sure I have highlight detail through the windows. There's no flash. Here I am lighting the clock. I'm changing camera position. I'm changing my position. This is important to make the technique work because I need images of the room to overlap where I'm standing. It makes it easier to mask out. So I'm just going to go through these fairly quickly. I'm just putting light where I think I'm going to need it to create the edges and draw the shapes, the forms, and the textures that I like with my lighting. I'm going to hit escape here because all of them are not necessary to see. I have starred the ones I like. I'm going to now sort them by rating, and I'm going to sort them by descending order, and we can see the images I'm going to use. I will click once and then shift click again to grab all of them, Apple O to open them up, and they show up here in Camera Raw. I'm going to click this first one here for a moment, and one of the things that I want to point out is not these effects here, but here, the camera profile. Canon, which is what I use, although Nikon, Olympus, they're all going to get you where you want to go. I like Canon because they have this picture style concept, which is a calibration in the camera when you're shooting, and I can match it up to the camera calibration automatically that shows up in Camera Raw when a Canon file opens. I think Adobe's done a great job of working this out. I dial in a profile in Camera Raw that matches the picture style I made the data with. This is the foundation of my picture, and it goes along with my philosophy. I build photographs, I don't take pictures. This allows me to have a very clean throughput. It's how I manage my files from the very beginning, and my output is all about quality. As I pick a different profile, you'll see how the color changes dramatically in the fireplace. Let's go down here, changes again, up here to standard, changes again. I pick neutral. That's how I capture the files. That's what I'm doing. I also tend to sharpen a little bit more than the standard 25. And even though I'm at a high ISO up here, ISO 800, I don't have to worry about any kind of noise buildup, even though there may be some, because I'm doing this overlap technique. The noise from one layer cancels out the noise from another. I don't need to worry about this. I've also found with my camera and this lens combination at 24mm perspective shifting that the clarity and vibrance kicked up to 25 gives me a nice look. These are my processing workflow, Pro Photo, 16 bits. I process out at the native resolution. Since I'm working in smart objects, you can see below that it's checked. I don't need to bother with enlarging the file. If I need to, I can enlarge it later on because they're all smart objects. I don't sharpen for output. I don't know exactly what the output's going to be. Some of it's sometimes going to go to web, sometimes going to go to print, sometimes it'll be on a hard paper, sometimes it'll be on a soft paper. It is the rare person that knows exactly how they're going to use that file. The odds are that you're going to have just a single use for your picture are slim and none, and Slim called in sick today. So don't bother sharpening your files. Also, what's high, low, and standard? By whose standard? How high is high? This is just too vague for me. Keep it at none. Now I'm going to select all, and I'm going to save the images. I don't have to process the files out. I know what I'm going to do with them. So I'm going to save them in this folder. I'm going to call it process. And you can see my hierarchy, 2010 photos, the month of August, this was the client, this is the location, this was the interior of the location, and these are the processed files. I click save. I'm not going to change the name, they're going to be PSDs, that's the format I work in, they're going to be Photoshop files obviously. I'm going to click save, and you notice down here, as the files process, this is a countdown, and they're going to be put into their own folder, allowing me to go to the next step. That's it for now. Thank you very much for listening. See ya.